All right. Well, we're going to jump right into things here. We're privileged enough to have Darryl Lynch here to share with us here in a few moments. Just one quick announcement. Wanted to remind you of regarding your attestation forms. The attestation forms will be DocuSign emailed to you during that final session of the day. And so, following that final session, you'll get an email saying, DocuSign is requesting that you complete the following form. You'll fill out that form. You'll do an electronic signature, and then that'll be sent back to me. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and submit that for your credit following the conference. And so, if you paid for the conference, if you had a registration for the conference, that'll be sent to you following or later on in our final session later today. But now I'll go ahead and introduce Darryl Lynch. Darryl Lynch is a highly regarded in the financial services sector, especially renowned for his expertise in inherited IRA special needs trusts. With a tenure of over 35 years, Darryl currently leads as Managing Director of Investments at Oppenheimer Co. His role not only demands deep understanding and skill in financial planning, but also a compassionate approach to advising conservators, guardians, elder law attorneys, and trustees on investments tailored to their unique needs. Darryl's expertise is so well regarded, he's frequently invited to speak at national conferences, underscoring his role as a champion for advocacy in the special needs area. Darryl's academic journey took him to Duke University, where he earned his MBA, laying a solid foundation for his career. His combination of professional excellence and educational pedigree positions Darryl as a pivotal figure in our field, whose advice and guidance are sought after by professionals nationwide. And so I'll pass things over to you, Darryl. You're on.
Thanks. Luke and I were talking about the copy and that title and description. I was saying that Chat GBT sure does write some nice copy. I'm going, who's that guy? Oh, well, I'm glad to be here. I'm traveling today. I'm at another school trust conference, special needs trust conference in Kansas City. So I'm talking from our hotel room. But I wanted to tell you a little story and about the industry that I'm in and the financial industry I'm in. And I was at a roundtable conference for financial guys. This wasn't guardians or conservators, and we were all in there as a roundtable with some of the top guys in the nation, and they were all telling their story about, oh, who do you like to work with? What is your market? And all these guys were talking about, oh, I like to work with CEOs, or I like to work with guys that just sold their companies where they're looking at $100 billion. And I like to work with engineers, or I like stock options or huge retirement plans over 500 million minimum. And they got around to me and I said, well, our mission for our group is to help folks who can't help themselves. And we're not looking to work with people that are mean or money grubbing. We want to help the folks that can't help themselves, and we want to be kind and polite. And most of the things that we emphasize in our group, we want to be givers and not takers. And they all looked at us like, what are you doing here? And they were thinking, what do you get out of that? And I'm saying, well, we get satisfaction. And the beauty of working with this community of yourselves, of givers, that you're nice. It's most importantly that we enjoyed our team working with people that are nice. That's the most important. And today we're going to give up some of the secrets of our industry and talk about things that probably your financial advisor won't tell you, and also give you some roadmaps, some tools that you can use in your business, in what you're doing, that you can take home that'll be liberating, and you can use these tools to implement in your practice to make it more efficient. So let's just get going here. See if we can get to the next page. Let's see if I can get there. Here we go. I got it working. Okay, today's topic: deciding whether to invest or not. This is really important. It'll give you some ways that you can protect yourself from what you do. Suitability, evaluating clients' needs, when to use an investment questionnaire, What are investment models? People talk about what model you're using. We'll explain that and why you should use them. What your financial advisor is not telling you. Tools and forms that you can copy, and there should be on the website. You can download these forms and you can use them and implement them into your practice. Okay? Deciding to invest or not. Big question. Ask common sense questions. What are your clients' wishes? How does it meet the beneficiary's needs and goals? Is this the right level of risk? What time frame am I looking at? How long will the funds last? What are their clients' incomes? People deciding to invest, it's even for me now, after doing this for almost 40 years, you kind of go, should I, or should I not? How do I make those decisions? And you, as a conservator and guardian and trustee, you have to make these decisions all the time. And you have to be able to defend what you did and document it. I'm going to show you some really cool things that'll let you do that and feel comfortable about it. Okay? Deciding whether to invest or not. Use objective standards, logical decision making. You can't use subjective things like, oh, well, I did it because I thought the market was too low. Oh, I did it because I thought now is a good time. I did it because right before the election. You really have to have objective standards so you can defend those and document them. Tools to determine suitability and investment options, standardized. If you do the same thing over and over again for all your clients and document it, that will give you a good track record. Someone can say, well, what'd you do? Well, here are my procedures. This is the process I follow consistently. And this is this outcome that came. And those are quantifiable and defendable. Quantifiable risk categories, we talk about models. Is it all cash or is it 100% stocks, and what ratios? And we're going to show you what models look like. And these are data-driven investment models. Okay? Evaluating your client's needs. The most important thing when deciding to do that is time horizon. How much time does this client have? When will all this money be spent? Will it last for 3 years or will it last for 20 years? Then take a look at the age and health, sources of income, total investable assets, annual expenses, things you should know when you're setting up a care plan, expected shortfall, if any, anticipated large withdrawals, education, housing, vehicle, wheelchair, moving to an assisted living, down payments, those types of things. Limitations or restrictions. Are there anything in the portfolio that maybe you don't want there? Or maybe there was some legacy stocks somebody wanted to hold on. Client's wishes. Maybe the client wanted to stay all in real estate. Okay, and that was their wish, to stay all in real estate, didn't like equities. So you have to take those into account, especially if they have capacity. Just can't say, well, I don't want to have it in real estate because I'm too lazy to manage it. No, you have to take that into account, the client's wishes. When to use a questionnaire. Now, using an investment questionnaire, we're going to talk about, it can be very liberating. A lot of clients have implemented this questionnaire that we have, and it's I didn't develop it all. It was thank you to Casey Urin and let's see, Nathan Milback were some of the ones that kind of gave us some ground rules for setting up the questionnaire. But this is something you should use regularly and implement maybe into your financial planning. And you should do it before you invest clients' investments. And it should be reevaluated whenever there's a windfall that comes in, or maybe there's a huge withdrawal, or maybe health changes or expenses, change the spending habits, major contributions. And once a year, you should look at this and say, well, okay, what are we doing here? It's very, very important. Okay. Why? This will allow you to standardize your decision making. So you're not guessing, and you're not being subjective and waiting for inflation or waiting for the next election. Objective decision making instead of subjective opinions, which is what we all do, but you cannot practice that in your practice. And it actually gives you a score. It scores a client with quantifiable categories and models, ensures that clients with similar investment risk have similar investment outcomes. It's nothing worse when you're reviewing your accounts and you know that, okay, all these clients right now should have a certain amount of risk, and I want them in a 50% equity, 50% bond portfolio ratio. And you're reviewing, say, 10 clients, and one client is up 3, one client's down 4, one client is up 8, one client is down 3, and another one's up 8. It's not consistent. And clients with similar investment risk categories should have similar investment outcomes, and it makes it easier for you to review these portfolios. By using objective scoring system, it allows you to determine and document your decision-making process so you can defend it in court and with beneficiaries and their heirs. And if people are saying, well, why'd you do this? Oh, well, what's this? Well, here's my procedure. Here's my process. And this is the outcomes. And this is how I document it. And that's what you will be judged on. You will be judged on your procedures and your process, not the performance, because you cannot control what CD rates are. You cannot control what the market does. You cannot control who gets elected. You cannot control what inflation is, but you can control the risk in the portfolio. And you can control the allocation by your decision making and document it. So that's what you'll be judged on. It's very important. Now, we've talked about models. Now, what do they look like? Okay. Here are some allocation models, just some rough ones. These are not the ones we use. I just kind of scratched these out just for example purposes. And you can see on the all green circle, this is what I call capital preservation. Now, this is all cash, all fixed income, which means it's all CDs, all things that have maturities. These are all liquid. You can get a hold of them and pull the money out the next day. Okay, this capital preservation, you will never have a loss in this portfolio. It may not earn much, but you won't have a loss. It'll just preserve the capital 100%. The next model is an income model. This is one that has about a 30% equity position and the rest fixed income, bonds, corporate bonds, treasuries. On the equity side, you'll have some S&P 500 and small stocks, mid-cap stocks, those types of things. But the ratio in the income portfolio is about 30% equity to 70% fixed income. This is for people who are maybe on a spin down, and the money's going to be last anywhere from 3 to 5 years, somewhere in there. And the next one is a balanced income, 50-50. This one is 50% stocks, 50% bonds, and it's more of a moderate portfolio. Next one over to the right, you're looking at balanced growth, which is a traditional, what people look at for investing. They call what is the 60-40 ratio, 60% equity, 40% bonds, okay? Then a growth portfolio can be anywhere from 80, 85% equity to 80% equity, and the small portion in fixed income. And this is for someone who's probably not going to touch the money. Looking at a young person, special needs trust, if they're not pulling the money out, they have money coming in from maybe a structured settlement. But these are examples. And these models, if you look at them, are probably more conservative, and they are more conservative than you would for your personal account. Remember, we're dealing with other people's money, so it's better to err on the side of conservative. And if you look at the bottom of under each of those models, you can see that each of these fixed income portions and the equity portions have different categories. Like, for example, we're looking at the balanced income. It has short-term bonds, high-yield bonds, intermediate bonds, long-term bonds, and a little bit of cash. And the equities there, you can have large capitalization companies, large cap growth, large cap value, mid cap, some international, maybe some real estate, some emerging markets. Those are some typical categories of asset classes, and your advisor should be able to work with you. But whatever you do, make sure you're working with models to streamline and scale your business. Okay. And what you're doing, you're balancing risk and you're balancing return. You can see on this one, you can see cash, little risk, little return, CDs, little risk, more return, bonds, large capitalization stocks, and international. And by blending these asset classes doesn't always work, but this is the theory. It's a discipline which seeks to maximize your return and minimize your risk by diversifying among asset classes. You want one to zig, one to zag. Most of the time it does work, but it does reduce your risk significantly. So this is important. It's called modern portfolio theory. That's in a nutshell why you just don't have all of your eggs in one basket. Okay. Now, we're going to look at the questionnaire and have 3 steps. Gather client information, which is really easy if you have your care plan. Copy relevant information in the questionnaire header. Answer 10 questions and calculate the score. Now, this is what a questionnaire looks like. This is the one you can get on the PDF or download. And this is one that we've used. And thank you for Nathan Milback for really helping and this along. And we've made some modifications. So I've kind of taken a little bit from everything. But this is what it looks like. And I used to go through this in a presentation where we would actually do the math, because it takes a little algebra and everybody always glazes off when you do algebra. But I'm going to leave that to you so you can work on that, but make it simple. But I put some formulas in here to easily follow. But this is what the questionnaires look like. Okay. And like I said, and if you look at the bottom, you come out with a score, like on the page, it says total score. And if it scores 0 to 19, capital preservation, remember that's all fixed income. So this is your category. Even if you don't think you're going to invest, fill out the questionnaire and you can document that you left this money in cash. I'll tell you a little story. Had a good client where they had like about $1.5 million, and it was going to go out in distributions for the heirs, and she didn't know when the distributions were going to go. And the beneficiaries go, why didn't you put this in the stock market? Look, the stock market's up 20%. Why didn't you do this? And she goes, well, we're going to be giving this money out. And they kept hounding her about putting the money in the stock market. And what she did, what happened? They went down. Then they were going, why did you do that? And because they had to have the distributions in the next couple of months, and recovery didn't happen. So she had egg on her face. If she had done the questionnaire and filled it out, she could have told them, this is our procedure, this is our process, and this is our decision to leave it in cash because we're making distributions in the next 8 months. And we don't want to take the risk of having this go down. And on this, if it would have scored under 19, and that would have been capital preservation, and she could have told them to go pound sand. Now, the next category, 20 to 35, would be the income portfolio. You can see it's scored, and you can see that's a 20 to 30% equity portfolio. Then the balance, 50-50. Then the balance growth, which is about your 60-40 ratio there. And then actually a growth category, which comes up, and it's around 97 to 100. If scores over 100, then you feel real comfortable about having this money long term. Okay. And you sign it, and your advisor can sign it, and you say, this is what we've done, and you put it in their file, and you review this every year or every time or every quarter or whenever there's a significant change to the client's income. And this has been very liberating for a lot of clients, and a lot of clients have actually implemented this in their investment policy statements just to document what they've done. Okay, questions? We talked about asset allocation. I'm a little case studies here. Okay, this is where I was going to do math, but I'm just going to walk through it for you. Okay, we'll have 3 case studies, a balanced income moderate, a capital preservation, and an income that's more of a conservative income, and a growth. And we'll go through the first balanced income model and then the capital preservation model, and we won't go through the other 2s, but you can calculate those on yourself. So you get the right answer, email it to me, and there probably will be a gift for you. Okay, you come up with the right numbers on the last 2. Okay, these are the models we're working with. Just want to reiterate, this is the balanced income case, and they have assets of $1,500,000, $500,000, Expenses, 85. Income, $35,000. And that comes from Social Security providing $25,000 a year with a 5% COLA, and a pension plan, $10,000 a year. And the need is $50,000. And the need comes from taking a look at your expenses minus your income gives you the need. And H is down there for healthy. Now you can see I've put the A, E, I, N, H all in red because those are the numbers you're going to fill in to the little chart that you have. So remember, we have assets, A, expenses, E, income, I, need, 50, which is the expenses minus 35, and healthy and the age. That's all you need. Simple. You can see, plug it in at the top, and you go to the first one. What's the size of the account? This account was 1,500,000. And so it's over the level normally. So we have 750 million. So that's 14 points, plus add 2 points for each 250,000. So that brought us up to 18. So the first answer and the number is 18. All right. When do you anticipate routine annual withdrawals exceeding 3% of investable assets? Okay. And the formula is A times 0.03. So you have 1.5 million times 0.03. That gives you 45. 45 is less than 50. So the answer is less than 3 years. Okay. Got it. Okay. Next one. Score 2. If any distributions are expected in the next 5 years, what is the approximate annual percentage of the current account value? And that's N, which is need, over A. That gives you 50,000 over 1.5 million. That gives you about 3.3%. And that would be B, 6 points. During the next 5 years, any income that comes to the client outside the investments, Social Security, annuities, wages, will most likely, remember there's a 5% COLA on part of his income. So we put down 4%, right? Now, next question. During the next 5 years, what percentage of the routine annual expenses are expected to be covered by the income that comes to the conservator outside investments? So they have outside investments. That'd be income, I, over expenses. So that'd be 35,000 over 85,000. That equals about 0.41 or 41%. So that gave us 4 points. Okay. What is the likelihood, number 6, likelihood of large withdrawals will be made for the client due to unforeseen circumstances? Now, this gets into a little subjectivity. All right. So this is something you should know and just use your gut feeling here, but at least quantify your gut feeling by saying it's likely. So I give it 0 points. Next one, 7. If any significant non-routine distributions, home, vehicle purchases, college, are expected, when will they occur? And if more than one is expected, when will the first distribution? Now, this is another. You should know when you expect money coming out. So, okay, less than 3 years, we're probably pulling some money out. Okay. So that gives us 2. So that gives us a subtotal of 36. All right. Remember that. Now, these are the modifiers that we use to kind of adjust those numbers. Number 8, during the next year, what percentage of the current account value do you anticipate net withdrawals representing? And this is N, need, over A, and that'd be 50,000 over 1,500,000. And it gives you 0.33, about 3%. So you say we're going to add 0.15. It's going to total it up. Okay. We have a spreadsheet that does this automatically, but I want to run through this so you just kind of see the thinking there. So you got a 0.15. What's the age? Remember the age of this person, they're between 66 and 75. So we have a negative number. Ooh. So we have a negative 0.10. based on your known spending with a 3% return on investments, how long will the money last? Just to make it simple, I just put a 0 in there. So it's not 3%, 0, just to give you an idea. That would be assets over the need. And that came out to 1,500,000 over 50,000. That should last over 30 years. Okay. And since this is over 30 years, we have 10 to 20. We add some to it for being that it's over 0.6 points for each additional 5 years. And it came out to, if you total these up, 0.15 minus 0.1 plus 0.3, we got a sum of 0.35. Okay. This is the math. We take our original subtotal 36 and we take the sum of 0.35, gives us of 12.6. So we had our original subtotal 36 plus 12.6 gives us 48 balanced income. Okay, you can practice it at home, and or you can email us. I'll get you a spreadsheet that will do that automatically, but that's the math behind it. And that comes into the category of 48.6, which clearly puts it in balanced income, 50-50. And so what you've done, you've objectively scored your client into risk category where if someone asks you, you can say, this is what it came out to, and this is my decision, and this is how it works. Okay. Capital preservation case, I'll go through it quickly just to kind of run through it. This is a client that had assets of 240,000, expenses of 96, income of 18 from Social Security, and the need is $78,000 annually. Because we look at what we've only got $18,000 in income minus the 96, so we're going to need a lot of money out of this. And this is an unhealthy 70-year-old. Fix the numbers here. You got 240,000 A assets, 96. Looking at the expenses, income, 18,000 at the top. And then you can see you're looking at unhealthy right there. Scored, easy, 8 points. Then we take our 240,000 over 0.3, 2. Same here. Run through these at home so you can see how we got the numbers and be very helpful, but I just want to scroll through it. Had some negative numbers here to deal with. That's always fun. But this totaled out to 15. Now, this means you should leave this all in cash and not do anything with it. And if somebody doesn't like it, that's too bad. Okay? Questions? You guys are good. Here's another income case. I won't run through this, but please email me and make sure you have the right answer. And like I said, I will slip something in the mail to you for that. And this person had assets of 300,000, expenses of 60, income of 21,000, Social Security providing $15,000 with a 5% COLA. Remember to get that COLA in there, and remember it's not on all of it. Annual need 39,000 and an unhealthy 82-year-old. And here's a growth case. Income, don't have much money, but what is it looking like? Here you've got $550,000, expenses 24, income 30. There's no need, so figure that one out. Structured settlement providing $30,000 a year with a 5% COLA and a very healthy person. Okay, and send me an email. I'll send that to you too. Okay, by using objective scoring systems, it allows you to make your decision-making process and have it documented. So you can defend it in court and with beneficiaries. Very important. Okay, now, other things. What your financial advisor won't tell you. And previous, this is something that you should be aware of no matter what. The forms we went through, those are some forms you should use, but now we're going to tell you what to look for. When you're looking at statements, you should look for inappropriate assets. incorrect mutual fund classes, proprietary investments. Those are the ones that the investment company cooks up and sends out. Overconcentration, alternative investments, these are the worst, and fees and commission. All right. Okay, inappropriate asset classes. Individual stocks. I don't believe in these diversified accounts. You should be having stocks. Mutual funds are a much better place to be, less risk, and you just don't have that intrinsic inherent value of having a stock go from 50 to 20. Mutual funds just don't do that, and they give you more diversification. Annuities. Annuities are bad for a couple reasons, but usually the only person that benefits from the annuity sale is the person who sold it. I have an annuity myself, so full disclosure, probably shouldn't have put as much money in it as I did. And but it's a small portion of my assets, and it's a small subset of people who should have them. And usually they don't belong in fiduciary accounts. They just don't. And like I said, the only person that usually benefits from the annuity sale is the person who sold it. They create difficulties in accessing funds. They're locked up. They have surrender charges, liquidation penalties, and the internal costs are very, very high. Okay. If you do have mutual funds are kind of weird, and they have like different share classes. A class, which has upfront, B classes. Just remember, A and B are bad. C's is even worse. But B's have been phased out by industry because they've been so bad. But remember, A shares shouldn't have those big upfront load, maybe 5%. B shares, another hidden fees, almost 3% internal, and C2. And the B shares have surrender charges. You should look for I shares. These are institutional shares. And we're going to talk about index funds versus active managers. Most index funds are I shares. And imagine this. Your index is just buying, say, all the stocks in the S&P 500, or all the stocks in the Dow Jones, or all the ones in an index. And that index manager will charge you 5 cents for every $100 you give them. Okay. And that active manager may charge you $1.50 to $2.50 for every $100 that you give. Think about that. One guy's charging you a nickel, and the other guy's charging maybe $2 for every 100. And the thing about it, the guy who's charging you a nickel has a 90% chance of beating those guys that are charging you $1.50 to $200 to $2 per 100. I'll repeat that. The guy that's charging you a nickel has a 90% chance of beating all those guys that are charging you $1.50 to $2. It doesn't make any sense. And index funds perform better than most active managers. There are some asset classes where they're inefficient, where you can get, add some better returns by looking at active managers. But in the United States market, which is very efficient, large cap, small cap, medium cap, value large, it's much better to have an index fund where you have less risk and more consistency. That active manager is not going to tell you that he stopped working 6 months ago, or he's got cancer, he's going through a divorce, until the performance falls off. You can't monitor that until it's too late. With an index, you know what you're going to get. So I recommend index funds over active managers because they're just better for you and will make your performance less volatile and more consistent. Okay, that was my soapbox. Proprietary investments. These are something that it's like if you're at a bank, let's say you're at Dane Bosworth. I don't want to call anybody out here, or maybe Piper Jaffray, an old firm. Proprietary investments are the ones that, if you look at your statements and it's Piper Jaffray statement, and all the mutual funds in there are proprietary funds like Piper Jaffray Growth, Piper Jaffray Income, Piper Jaffray International. Those are proprietary funds. And a lot of times the advisor is incentivized to sell proprietary funds because they pay better to them. The company will actually give them a higher payout, or higher payout, or win prizes. And these are often mutual funds and annuity products. and they may be incentivized to push these on their clients because they get paid more and it's conflict of interest. You run into a portfolio that has a lot of these, you got to get out of them. And a lot of times, banks will do this. It's called cross-selling. They get you with insurance and with mortgages and with loans and all kinds of things to get you just higher fees. Wells Fargo got in trouble for doing this a while back. Just opening all these bank accounts. So just be aware. Okay. I see a couple questions. You have
Yeah.
anything, Luke?
Yep. So Tamara, so Diana just said this is impressively helpful. Thank you. And then Tamara had said, can you put email in the chat for the spreadsheet? Or can you, so I think she's wanting your email so she can access that spreadsheet, or where can I find that?
It should be maybe on the I send it in. There's a link to it. If not, if you email me, I'll send it to you. Just let me know. Okay. I have my team, you can email them the Lynch Group or darryllynch.com and we'll get that off to you. Okay.
Very good.
Good. Overconcentration, another thing. It's like eating all chocolate cake. You don't want to do it. Okay. Even CDs have a risk. CDs have their purpose. If you're going to be sending the money out in a distribution relatively quick, you want to make sure it's safe. But if I came to you and I said, I'm a portfolio manager and I guarantee I will lose you 2 to 3% every single year, that you have money with me for the next 10 years, would you hire me? No. That's what happens when you come in and you lock in your CD rates. Inflation will kill you. Single stock holdings, market risk, one asset class that you overweight. Say you overweight growth or technology or oil or anything like that. You just, you're taking a risk by over concentration. Okay, here's the one. This is my pet peeve. I hate these. And tell you a little personal story. I actually had a limited partnership about 25 years ago. And the company I was with at the time, CIBC, bought us and said, oh, you great guys, I'm going to give you access to the limited partnership. It's going to be all these great things, the corporate finance, and it's going to be a money maker. You're going to put money in. It's only going to last 7 years. 25 years later, I'm still in it. Okay. I'm still in it. It was a 7-year project. Horrible. Low liquidity, high upfront fees, sometimes 1-2% internal costs. These are a black box. You don't know what they're doing in these things. You get these K1 reportings. This is like some kind of disease that, that reminds you every tax time of a bad decision you made, 15, 20 years ago of getting into this thing. This is horrible. Difficult to re-register and let you know that if you're the conservator, they don't want to talk to you. How do you re-register these things? How do you get information on them? Hedge funds, crypto. Do not buy crypto at all. Okay, that will guarantee an audit by the IRS every single year. These things are a Ponzi scheme. These things are places where criminals hang out. There are thieves and fraud going on. This is not a thing that should be in a fiduciary account. They're terrible. Okay. Ask me how I really feel about that. Okay. But you want an audit every year, do it. Fees. Know the cost. Usually charge a flat rate, which you have $100,000 account, they charge you 1%. That's $1,000 to investment advisor. Should never be over 1%. Sometimes fees can be as high as 3%. Gold standard 1% or less. We do at the Lynch Group. Anything under 100,000, we do pro bono, and we charge 0.85 to 0.5% to manage money. It's just what we've done. Is just for the fiduciary guardianship accounts, it works better. Okay. But remember, never pay more than 1%. If your advisor won't bring it down, they're lying. They don't want to. And they say they can't. They will if you make them. Okay. Fees and commissions. Commissions are when you buy something, you sell something, transaction based. Okay. You buy 100 shares of something, they charge you a commission. Opposed to a fee. You have a $100,000 account, there are no commissions in charge, but it's just an annual fee for managing the money. Okay. Commissions can create a conflict of interest. You don't know where the advisor is saying, let's sell this because it's a good time for you, or a good time to make his mortgage or his interest payment on his Porsche. Okay. What is his best interest? Incentivize more transactions, not necessarily more care. Excessive trading can be churning, increase accounting costs, really a pain in the behind. A commission account, even if you do have a commission account, sometimes it's important if you're just holding stocks and you're not going to do anything with them. You don't need to be paying a fee, an annual fee for just warehousing something. Maybe just a commission when some things are sold, but still that commission should be 1% or less. Okay. Conflict of interest, looking at total biases. And the biases are there's a virus, inflation, the election, the market, the politics, war. Commission accounts are conflict. Proprietary investments are conflict. Self-dealing, don't be buying something from somebody that already owns it. Okay. Now, avoid those conflicts. Work with somebody who knows what they're doing. And you don't want to teach your financial advisor your business. You waste your time and your client's time by having somebody, you having to teach them what you're doing. You want somebody that's familiar with this, so work with a fiduciary. Delegate the work to a fiduciary. All right. Questions? How are we doing, Luke?
We're doing great. We got about 15
got
minutes left, and
15 minutes?
no questions
Okay.
at the moment.
Okay. All right. Now, here's a form next that I'm going to give you that you can use. It's investment summary. You know, when you ask for a proposal, after you've got the risk level you want, you say, yeah, okay, we need a 50-50 allocation. You want something you could, if you're going to court, something that's simple, your client can read, you can read, and the judge can read. And here's a simple form that you can use that we developed that will allow you to, all that hard paperwork, they do these 3-ring binders about alpha squares and graphs and charts and probability tests and bar graphs and who shot John. But I can't understand most of that stuff, and the judge isn't, and your client isn't, but you need 1-page summary that's going to help. Okay. And you can see on here, this will have, okay, the name, special needs, you have the amount. Let me go back. Should hit that. Okay. It's a trust account. You can see the time horizon. You can see risk tolerance. We're conservative, moderate. What's the model? It's an income model. What are we going to measure it against? We're going to measure it against 70% Barclays aggregate, which is a bond index, and 30% S&P. If you have a portfolio that's 100% stocks, you can't measure that against something that's 70. That's only 30% stocks. And conversely, if you have a portfolio that's only fixed income, you can't compare apples and apples if you're comparing it to the S&P. So you want that like to like. So you can see, yeah, I'm in the ballpark. The 50-50 ratio bonds to stocks was up 6 and my account was up 5.8. Okay, I'm in the ballpark. Rebalancing, how often you're going to rebalance the portfolio? Is it a blocked account? Restrictions, quarterly in-person reviews. And then on the other side, you can see, well, what's the management fee? You know, everybody wants to see, don't hide it. 0.85 will provide increased income for a client through asset allocation. How many securities are going to be in it? It's going to be 500. It's going to be 12. We'll model per term. We'll do proper diversification, regular rebalancing, standard reporting, and ongoing risk monitoring, and keep you in line with the Uniform Prudent Investor Act. This is the first page that should be on the binder that you're going to have with all the charts and graphs. Okay. You can use that. I can give you a template for it. Also, monitoring. A lot of people fall down on this. You know, you get the portfolio going and you don't set up regular monitoring. You have to do this. Okay. You're required to do this at least 3 times a year. Okay. Sometimes 4, but at least 3 times a year or twice a year, and just document what you do. It's your responsibility as a fiduciary to do this. It's an important tool for best practices. Okay. And here's something that there's another form I'm going to give you that you can use to document you've had this review and put it in the client's file. and you standardize what you're doing. This is one where you look over there and you can see, okay, personal information. This is Darryl Lynch and Peter Palumbo. Then the client's name is under it. And then you say, who attended the meeting? Okay, who were the people there? Then you give, okay, account number XXX. What type of account was it? This was a guardianship account, or it could have been a trust account. What was the model? What was the fee that year? Was it blocked? Okay, and what was the date of the meeting? This date, and was it by phone, or was it by Zoom, or it was in person? These are all things you check. And then what you talk about? The economy. Yep. Talked about direction of financial markets, investment objectives, risk. We talked about that. Long outlook. Were you happy? We talked about the performance. And then under there, what was the performance for that time? Any other notes, any other concentrated positions? And we went over those. You sign it, your investment advisor signs it. Put it in the file. That proves you did it. Okay. This is a real handy investment advisor log review. Okay. Now, I would like everybody to get out their phones. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to get out your phone and go to a website called Money Chimp, like the primate, MoneyChimp.com. I'll give you a second. Okay. This is a tool that you can use for yourself and every day with some really, really cool stuff. And you don't need your financial advisor to go through all these permutations. You should do these first before you talk to them to get a ballpark. All right. All right. I'll give you a couple more seconds here. Now, you go to Money Chimp and it says at the top, current principal. Now, if you put in there 500,000 and it says annual additions, we're going to put in 17,000. And say the person's, he's in his 50s. He's 50 years old, going to retire in 15 years. So he's got $500,000 saved up. He's going to add 17,000 to the portfolio. Years of growth, 15. Interest rates always look at 5. Now, I use 5 for purposes of calculation. Okay, you're probably going to do better, but for purposes of planning, should use 5. Anything more aggressive? Yeah, but 5 will give you a ballpark for interest rates. All right. Compound, leave that alone once. Calculate. Boom. In 15 years, you will have $1.4 million. Nice. Let's change that interest rate to 6 and calculate. Get $1.6 million. So you can see how that affects you. If you get 7, change that interest rate and calculate, get $1.8 million. So you can see anywhere from 5%, you're looking at 1.4, and the 7% about 1.8. But we're going to use 5% just as purposes of calculation. Now, on that website, if you see where I have the red arrow over here, okay, click on retirement. That takes you to the next page. Now, this is a handy screen, a little bit, but not the really one I want to go to. The next one is more important, but this gives you a way to calculate, all right, I'm going to put money in my pre-retirement and my growth rate, say maybe 7, but in retirement, I'm going to be a little bit more conservative and I'm going to have a growth rate of 6 or 5. It's just a good way to play with that. Okay. Simple retirement calculator. It's nice. Now, go to the bottom and you can see where I have the big red arrow right here. click on Risky Retirement Calculator. And you should come up to a page that looks like this. Okay, this is a fun one. And this is the one that I like, and you'll probably get the biggest bang out of it. Now, let's just take our example. We got out of, we had approximately 1.5 million. Say we have $1.5 million starting retirement. All right. And this guy's retired at 65. So he's got 35 years to 100. All right. So we've got 1.5 in the first bar, second one, 35. And desired income, this guy wants $65,000 a year. All right. And we're going to adjust that to inflation. So that $65,000 is going to increase with inflation each year. Okay. This box you can check. If you want to be stagnant, you can leave it there. We don't care about the heirs. We're going to leave 0 to the heirs and please plan on it. And we're going to have a 60-40 ratio between stocks and bonds. Now, what this does is really kind of neat. It looks at every 35-year period between 1871 and 2022. It just looks at every possible 35-year period between those two. All right. And for stocks, they lose 25 basis points or 0.25% for expenses, and cash is 1% over inflation. You hit calculate. Ching, 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 ching. What do you get? You have a 90% chance, 92% chance of being successful. That's pretty good. And it gives you all the years that you wouldn't have made it because of inflation or because of the bad markets. But you can see you got a 92% chance of being a winner here, which is pretty good. Okay. So this gives you an idea of how long the money's going to last. And even if you didn't make the 35 years, you know, it gets you close to where you're looking at 33, 31, you know, maybe a 29 in there, but you're pretty close. So that gives you an idea of what you're looking at. All right, and this is the way you can calculate what you're doing with your clients. It might be helpful. Now, let's take a look at where your clients might be in a particular situation like this. Let's go to the top. We'll leave the 1.5 million in. All right. And let's put 20 years in. And we're going to have a huge, you know, withdrawal out of this. We're going to be pulling $140,000 out a year. Okay. Give everybody a chance to catch up. So this is our new scenario on Money Chimp. We're looking at 1.5 million, 20 years, desired annual withdrawal, 140. And we're going to leave everything the same. Adjust it for inflation. Boom. Calculate. Anybody in the chat got a number for me? What percentage success rate do I have? See if somebody's actually doing this.
Seeing 16%.
Bingo. Give this man a cigar. Okay. You can see the money's going to last anywhere from 9 to 19 years. All right. So that gives you a probability of what you're working with. And so you can look at when someone says, how long is this money going to last? You can calculate it yourself. All right. And you can have some good ideas of what you're looking at for your client. This is a really powerful tool that you should use and can use to calculate how long is this money going to last, and you can adjust it. What are the probabilities? 16% of going for 20 years? Yeah, probably not. Okay. So but at least you can squeeze 9, most likely, even in the worst of the economies, going back to 1871 or any 20-year period. Okay, so you're probably looking at 10, maybe 15 years out of this thing, but 10 to 15 is probably about in the ballpark area. Okay. That is kind of cool. I like that thing because it's really helpful. All right. Now, that is kind of right on time. And I've got like 2 or 3 minutes for questions, and hopefully you have some. What questions do you have?
Just getting a comment from Claire Brown, just saying, love these tools, Darryl. I was wondering, Darryl, do you have a Bitcoin calculator? I'm joking. That's a joke. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you want to get audited every year?
I'm just kidding.
How about you're dealing with people that are criminals and money launderers and fraud? These are Ponzi schemes. They're a Ponzi scheme. This is just terrible. You get your money in there, and then they okay, you charge us this, then they charge you to take it out. And you get it in there, and then you have to have the fee to actually pull your profits out. Okay. This is like annuities. The only person making money is the guy selling it to you.
So a couple questions, and pardon the yelling children in the background. So what Lee had said, this would be a useful tool to run scenarios for trustee clients who have some perhaps unrealistic expectations or requests. And Janelle asked the question, do you think we are headed to a cashless system?
No.
Nope. All right. And the answer is good. Good. In your opinion, this is from Tamara, is there a safe investment?
Yes. CDs. But the risk you have there is inflation. Okay. It depends on how long. And that's why you go through the questionnaire. It's so important to go through the questionnaire because safe is relative. You're not safe if you leave it all in CDs for forever or for over 5 years. You're going to lose money. You're guaranteed to lose your buying power over that time. Guaranteed.
Elizabeth asked, do you like CDs more than mutual funds?
CDs for a certain portion of the assets and mutual funds for another portion of the assets. If the person is going to be making the distribution in 1 to 3 years, CDs are probably the best place, and 6 to 9 months, CDs are safe. But I do not like them if the money is going to be invested for 3 to 7 years or 3 to 5 years. I think it's not appropriate.
And I think we have time for one last question. Can you explain the importance of cost basis?
Yes. You buy a mutual fund, or say you buy a stock at 10 and it moves up to 15, your cost basis is 10. So you paid $10 for that share, and now it's 15. Your cost basis is 10. If you sell that stock, you have a $5 realized capital gain, which you're responsible for taxes. Okay. And that will be taxed at 15% on that $5 gain that you have. So when you sell something, it's important to know the cost basis, because then you have to figure out the tax liability. One more question, I hope.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, I'll keep taking questions.
So what I'll do is I'll close this here, and then for those who have a few minutes to stick around, is that okay, Darryl, if they stick around and ask more questions?
Sure.
Okay. And so we'll wrap up this session officially. Just one thing I want to encourage you to go to is go to the exhibit hall, and we've got the Lynch Group has a booth there, and there's an icon you'll see of a business card, and they're doing the good old fashioned drop the business card in the jar and giving out a $50 gift card for those that submit their information to that. And so encourage you to go over to that booth, click on the business card there. And then I'll hand it over to you here, Darryl, and the rest of you. Welcome to drop out for the next session, which starts in 15 minutes.
Perfect.
And can you see the chats there at all, Darryl?
Let's see here. Pull this up here. A little bit now I can. Let's say thanks. Always good information. Let's see. Thank you. Always good information. Let's see. Excellent. I don't see any questions.
What about moving a 401 to a Roth? Was one question from me.
You can use you can do that. It really, there's a calculation you have to work to see if it really makes sense for you tax wise, because you're going to have to pay a lot of taxes, because that money, so you have 100,000 in your IRA, that or your pension plan or retirement plan, that's going to be taxable to you the year that you make the conversion. So you may have to pay like $14,000 in taxes on that IRA distribution to move it into a Roth, and you have to figure out, is it worth it, and do you have time to make up that $14,000 Roth? But the Roth $14,000 tax hit, but the Roth is a better deal than the traditional IRA and retirement plan. It is.
And we got to thank you for the Money Chimp link. But it looks like that's the questions we got. So thank you, Darryl. Appreciate you being here.
Oh, no worries. My pleasure. And if anybody has any questions, reach out and we're here to help. And my email address is right there on the thing. So email us and we'll fax it or whatever you need, and we'll help you out. The team is more than happy to guide you and be a resource. Okay.
All
right,
right,
guys.
thank you all.